Welcome back to Bros in the Landfill, not a significant source of vitamins A, B, C, D, calcium, iron, entertainment, or magnesium.
Your hosts for today are Commander Tar,
Stand at attention.
Deputy Dizzy,
What system are we working under?
and Janitor Try.
How am I not the janitor?
And today, we will be talking about space and maybe Yu-Gi-Oh!
Wait, I thought we were doing Yu-Gi-Oh! First.
Yeah, we're doing Yu-Gi-Oh! First. I just wanted to fuck around with you guys.
No, we're doing
Why?
space first.
Well,
You guys are gonna talk
I imagine
about
the Yu-Gi-Oh!
space,
stuff would be the
goddammit.
most interesting, so we'll get through that first.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have the wrong opinion that space is bad.
Yeah, fuck you.
Oh,
Fuck
boy.
me.
Yeah, if you want to hear about why I think space is bad, listen to the whole podcast.
Because
I'm not putting time codes on this one.
Ruse.
Yeah, because I'm not putting time codes on this one.
Well, that can be Dizzy's job.
Well, I'll just delete them.
Oh fuck.
I'm the one with the rep power now.
But I made myself a comment moderator, so
Oh, fuck you, Tar.
you're gonna have to fight me.
I'm gonna have to fight you bare bones.
You want to take? We can take this to motherfucking Blazed Blue.
Yeah, fuck you.
I'm
Fuck
gonna,
Blaze
I'm gonna
Blue.
take my Oriental dancing man and do an Oriental flounce all over your punk ass.
We're gonna Logan Paul KSI this shit.
Oh shit! It's gonna end in a draw too.
Yeah. Okay.
So am I recording
been-
Bloons Tower Defense 4 for this one then? Because we're talking about space?
Sure. Or unless if you wanna.
Wait. Oh yeah, there was a space map for. Wait, there's also a space map for BTD5.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That might be what I'm thinking of.
Anyways, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Our favorite card game that
We're
we all
talking
play
about
every day.
space. You said space first.
Yeah, we're
No,
talking
we
about
said
space first.
Yu-Gi-Oh! First.
Yeah.
No,
No,
we said
I was.
space
Try-
first.
See what you did? Do you
Yeah.
see what you did, you fucker?
Yeah. Well, fuck me. We're gonna talk about Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and then we're gonna talk about space
we're
afterwards.
Talking
So.
about Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now.
So if people want to hear why I don't like space, well, I don't care about space, they can sit in for the whole podcast.
Or they can click the link.
I forgot to get water, son of a bitch. Okay.
We'll go get
Okay,
it now,
your fault.
Tar.
What?
What?
I said
Up
we'll
the
go
butt?
get it now.
Yeah, just go get it now.
No, because we're already recording, and I don't feel like doing my opening quip again.
Okay, fine.
SHSL professionalism.
I mean,
So let's
Tar,
just start-
I leave in the middle of cast sometimes to go to the bathroom, so I don't think that's much of a problem.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
I mean, Dizzy can just talk for 5 minutes about why he loves Duel Links.
I don't have Ken talk about that for 1 minute. I don't love Duel Links.
Yeah.
I just
So before
hate it
we
less
start
than
recording,
D.
So before we started recording, we decided that we're going to try to convince Tar to play Duel Links so we can be slightly bored for a few hours, at best.
Okay.
I guess Tar actually went to go get his water this time. You did a great job, Dizzy, at convincing him to go get his water.
I can't believe this is the worst cast.
No.
I thought it was.
I
supposed
think
to be
we
last
just
week.
need we need a conversation starter. We need a conversation starter to talk about.
Okay,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
you know what? You want a conversation starter? Let me go grab you a conversation starter.
Okay, so is Winged Karibo actually an ass monster?
Yeah, good question, Dizzy. What do you think? And Dizzy's gone, probably to the toilet or to get a conversation starter.
Yeah, okay, so is it actually an ass monster? Because, like, I
Yeah,
hear
I'm
it's
back.
supposed to be, like, a fucking joke.
I'm
But,
back.
like, isn't it ability, like, broken?
So Tar just asked if Winkaribo's an ass monster.
If who? Wing Karibo?
What?
What?
We
I
didn't
don't-
hear that.
I didn't
Doing
hear
that.
what monster you're talking about.
Winkaribo.
Karibo.
Karibo,
Well, Karibo or
basic
Wing
Karibo? Tar, there's like 8 Karibos, and there's only gonna be more.
Oh, shit. Fuck, I didn't realize. I'm not on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Scene.
Yeah.
Basic Karibo is fine for what he does. Winged Karibo is... Winged Karibo is okay. And then Karibon, I don't even know what that card does. There's the Wretched Ghost of the Attic, which is a terrible card. It has basically no attack and defense and no effect. Then there's Sangan, which was one of the best cards in the game and had to be banned for years.
Wait, Sangan is a Karibo?
He's a big furry ball with eyes and, arms.
I mean,
He's
it's basically
regardless Karibo.
it's basically a Karibo.
It is basically a Karibo.
And then, yeah, it had a really good effect where when it was destroyed, you could draw any monster with 1,500 attack points or less from your deck into your hand. So it had
Wait,
an immense.
I thought that was dark. Wait, it was any monster, or I thought it was dark specific.
No, it was any monster, and that's why it was super powerful. And then there was a counterpart to Sangan called Witch of the Black Forest that had the same effect, but it was 1,500 defense points instead of attack points. But it basically gave you a incredibly broad search rate for your deck. And then Konami was like, this is too strong, we have to ban it. And then they took Sangan off the ban list, but they changed its ability completely. So now it's basically useless.
Speaking of ban lists, have you heard that our Lord and Savior elemental hero Stratos is now free?
Yeah, I've heard. I never
I don't
understood
know what he
was
does.
banned. Stratos has the ability to destroy one spell or trap card on your opponent's side of the field, or grant you any elemental hero card from your deck straight to your hand.
Oh,
I think it's-
shit!
Yeah, I think
wait,
it's a
wait,
search.
any?
Yeah, you just you grab one from your deck and you stick it in your hand. That's how it works.
Holy shit!
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that good nowadays, but
Wait, oh yeah, weren't like most of the elemental heroes 4 stars?
Most of the elemental hero were 4 or less, but there was also Necroshade, a 5-star, Blade Edge, a 6-star. There was who else was there? There was Neos, who is a 7-star, but Neos is barely an elemental hero.
He's just elemental hero
Captain
by
Gold
name.
was 5, I believe, but Captain Gold was kind of crappy.
yeah, considering that elemental heroes, like just being able to grab any from your deck allowed you to go into more flexibility with fusion.
Well, you
or
could
fusing into
also.
different heroes. I imagine it was pretty strong back in the day.
A lot of people just replaced Stratos with reinforcements of the army, which lets you
Yeah.
grab any level 4 or lower warrior monster from
Oh,
your
yeah.
deck to your hand, so it basically did
Yeah.
the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
That means you can get Goblin Attack Force, the best card in the game.
Actually, Goblin Attack
absolutely.
Force is OP in Duel Links.
I imagine it is.
You know what's like?
so
I've seen a lot of hilarious abilities in Duel Links that I never even thought of. Like, one is a one-turn kill, where you summon a monster called the Karate Man, who has 1,000 attack and
Wait,
defense points, and the
Wait,
ability
Karan,
that...
I think I remember this guy. He was like, I'm interrupting you because I want to test my knowledge best, to see if I actually know anything to prove that I do consume media. The Karate Man was 4 stars, 1,000 attack, 1,000 defense. His ability was you could double his attack power, but he dies, right?
Yeah, you could double his base attack power, which is important, because what they do with this guy in
Right.
Duel Links... In Duel Links, you have 4,000 life points rather than 8,000. And what they do in Duel Links is they summon
Whack.
Karate Man, they equipped him with a equip spell card called, like, the Twin Golden Axes, which cuts his attack points down by 500, but gives him the ability to attack twice. Then they activate a spell card called Hidden Path to the Treasure that lets a chosen monster with 1,000 attack points or less attack directly. They use it on Karate Man. Then they activate Karate Man's ability, which doubles his base attack, turning his attack points into 2,000, and then go for a double, like, direct attack instant win.
But wait, you have to take away 500 attack points, right?
No,
because
because
of that first card?
No, because Karate Man's ability doubles his base attack. So it doesn't double his current attack, it changes his attack to double his base attack.
Oh!
It bypasses the power down.
That's a little brutal.
I mean, the special ability also bypasses power ups as well, but you don't need a power up when you can use this ability to double direct attack your opponent. The reason people stopped using it is because
Oh, you were saying a thing.
the reason people stopped using it is because the setup required too much. It required too much setup, and then most people just found other ways to completely F you over.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculously difficult to get together.
A lot of cards in Duel Links now are just stupidly broken. I don't know if you remember the Amazoness monsters from My Valentine. Do you remember her from Yu-Gi-Oh?
Kind of. I'm gonna need a refresher course on what those Amazons do.
Oh, the Amazons don't do anything in particular, but there's a trap card now that I can't figure out how to get past. You can have a maximum of 2 or 3 of them, I believe. And basically, what the trap card lets you do is special summon any Amazon monster from your hand with a boosted 500 attack points, and any monster that does battle with an Amazon monster is immediately removed from play, and I can't figure out how to get past that. Yeah, you can instant destroy, remove from play any card that you battle, assuming it's battle with an Amazon monster while the trap is active. And also it's a continuous trap card, so it lasts more than one turn. It persists until destroyed.
That's not a continuous effect, is it?
It is a continuous effect. It persists until the card is destroyed. Effect? Yeah.
Until the card is destroyed. Okay, so you need to get a trap. So you just need to get a trap busting card, right?
It's specifically a trap busting card, but here's another thing: in Duel Links, trap busting cards or just spell and trap cards, destroyers, are not as easy to come by as in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Since Mystical Space Typhoon is out, and most cards you're left with are cards like Double Cyclone, which requires you giving up one of your own set cards, Cosmic Twister, which requires you giving up 1,000 of your own life points, Twister, which requires you giving up 500 of your life points, and also the cards must already be activated. Plus, Twister does not negate effects, so if it's used in the middle of a battle phase, the trap will still activate and continue as planned. It will just end at the end of that turn.
Ooh.
So basically, if you get into Duel Links, build an Amazonist deck.
That sounds like the plan. Or you can... Wait, no, hang on. Sanyan doesn't do the thing it does. Never mind.
My mic is being picked up at an incredibly high ratio, and I'm moving it very, very, very far away from my face, and it is still being picked up really loudly.
Well, don't worry. I'll still have to clean up the audio no matter what. So, it doesn't matter too much.
I wonder if I could just do this. Hold on a second.
It's not like we have the best audio quality for a podcast in the first place.
True.
Alright, I'm gonna do something I've never done before. F around with the settings and see if that fixes it.
Well, don't do it on camera.
I'm doing it right now. Anyways, what were you talking about before I started mouthing off about Duel Links?
I don't know.
Duel Links, that was the established topic.
Is this just the part where DSY just gives a beginner's guide to Duel Links?
Maybe.
All right. Well, here's your beginner's guide then.
Links?
Oh, okay.
Out of all the games, I feel like could actually need some sort of like story or whatever. I feel like Duel Links is one of those games where it really, like, outside of completing arbitrary tasks to get new duelists, there's very little actually to do, and it kind of irks me because I'd play the hell out of it if there was some more, like, even if it was just replay like a fucking simple ass go through the duels from the stories from like the anime and manga. I've tried to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, and I just sit there. I'm just like, okay, this was fun for like a few duels. Oh, great, yay! This fusion mechanic means that I can start a duel off, and then if I brick, I'm basically fucked. Because bricking's too easy in a game where you only draw three or four cards at the start of a duel.
What do we mean by bricking?
You're stuck with a useless hand.
Oh, okay. I never played Duel Links, but I did play a few of the GBA Yu-Gi-Oh games. I can't remember which one was the one that was really good, but
oh dear. I have long stories about two GBA dual Yu-Gi-Oh games in particular. One was called The Sacred Cards, and the other one was called Reshif of Destruction.
I definitely played Reshif of Destruction. That one I wasn't a huge fan of, just simply because the difficulty curve was too much.
Reshif of Destruction, I to this day have not beaten it, and I'm still trying. It is astonishing. I actually got close. I got to the final level once.
I can't even get past China.
Yeah, that also got me stuck for a while. Here's the trick to the China one. Basically, you have to start the duel with a fire attribute monster, and also have a tribute summon.
I think it's China. It was so. I'm trying to remember even the events of the game.
Reach
Like
of
it was, but
Destruction.
this is like really early game. Really early game.
Yeah, China was pretty early. Reshift of Destruction was kind of a weird game for me because I really liked certain parts of it, but the actual gameplay of the game was ridiculously unfair, and I could never beat it. But like
Oh yeah.
the story was brand new. It was not it was not an adaptation of an anime story, and it was interesting too. And I thought the characters were actually kind of interesting and well done. But the actual gameplay was insanity. And also, Yugi's grandfather is a goddamn like thief.
Wait, he is.
Yugi's grandfather, okay, in most Yu-Gi-Oh games nowadays, you buy card packs that will give you, a random set of cards. In Reshift of Destruction, you purchase cards by choice. You buy one card of your choosing, or not one card, but you buy cards of your choosing specifically. From a card shop from Yugi's grandpa. But Yuki's grandpa is an extortionist. He will charge so much money, and you get so little money. He'll charge you like 3,000 something domino for a Karibo, and you get about 100 domino by winning a duel.
Yeah, that was the problem I had. Every single card was too expensive, and you only get money from winning a battle. You only get money from winning a duel once.
And the duels and the money you net from winning duels is so low. Like
I got a Thunder Dragon. Don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with it now, but boy, I'm sure glad I have this 5-star monster that I'm never gonna get onto the field because 4-star monsters aren't things yet.
4-star monsters were things, but they're just super expensive things. You had to make your way with 2-star monsters.
I physically could not grab a 4-star monster.
I
can't remember why, but I remember it being impossible. I wanted to get something like that Frenzied Panda that kept bodying me. But, for some reason, even if I did have the money, I couldn't get it for some reason.
There was another thing, too. I don't know if you played any of the Game Boy Yu-Gi-Oh games that Tara and I were talking about, but here's the thing.
I played one Yu-Gi-Oh card Game Boy game when I was really young. It was one of those World Championship ones.
Well, those ones actually follow the rules, I think.
Yeah,
but here's the thing.
I couldn't understand the concept of banned cards and limited cards. So I'd be stuck on the opening screen with the game telling me that I can't use that I have banned cards in my deck, and it would never tell me which cards were actually banned because it didn't indicate.
Well, here's the thing too about banned cards and stuff, and I think I know what Tara's problem is. Mm-hmm. The thing is that in most modern Yu-Gi-Oh games, you can just stick cards into your deck, except for banned and limited ones, obviously. But, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reshift of Destruction and the Sacred Cards, you had two sort of constantly increasing numbers. Your money and your duelist level. Your duelist level would go up once every 3 victories. 1 point every 3 victories. And if you also had, and every monster had a cost and a required duelist level. So even if you shelled out the cash for a good monster, if you do not meet the level requirements, you cannot put it in your deck. You are not skilled enough to use this card. And
that sounds familiar.
And another thing, too, there was also what was referred to as deck capacity, and I'm not talking about if you can have 40 or 60 cards in your deck. I'm talking about the combined total of the level it requires for the cost of all the cards in your decks must be underneath your deck capacity. Otherwise, you must remove high-level cards from your deck, or high duelist level cards from your deck. But here's the biggest kick in the teeth. High-cost duelist level cards are, 4-star monsters with good stats.
Yeah, those are your 4-stars that you desperately need.
Low-level cards, cards that require basically no duelist level at all, are 12-star monsters that you can't just normal summon. Black Skull Dragon in this game is not a fusion card, it's a tribute summon card.
Why?
But you need 3 tributes to summon it, and it's a 9-cost monster. Meanwhile, Celtic Guardian is a 161-cost monster, and so you need to win enough duels to get your starting duelist level of 86 up to 161, then you have to have enough low-level cards in your deck that you can put Celtic Guardian into your deck.
I don't even know how to process that.
Yeah,
Like, that's some first level mobile game bullshit.
it is maddening. There is only one card in the entirety of Reshift of Destruction that can save you at all, and if you don't have this card, you're effed, and you can only get this card near the very end of the game.
Oh, I was going to say, are we talking about Slifer? Would you
No,
get at the very beginning of the game?
Slifer is useless because you have to tribute 3 monsters and have them in your hand. No, here's the one card in the game that can save you, that can get you out of any desperate situation. Near the very end of the game, you get the Winged Dragon of Ra, which has a duelist level of 0. It's a free card that you can just put into your deck. But if you input a secret code, you can change it into the Winged Dragon of Ra Phoenix mode. This is incredibly important because in Reshift of Destruction, you can discard cards from your hand straight into the graveyard. So if you discard the Winged Dragon of Ra Phoenix mode straight into your graveyard, it will special summon Winged Dragon of Ra in base form right directly into your field with 4,000 attack and defense points. And because this is a Game Boy game...
And Slifer had this weird thing where his attack and defense, or his attack power, increases the more cards you have in your hand.
Yeah.
Slifer's effect...
Is that what he does normally? Because
that's his normal effect.
That's his normal thing. Okay, because in other cards' abilities get fucked. There's one card, I can't remember what it is, but I know normally it's a normal monster. But in this version, in Reshift of Destruction, he has an effect where he can clone himself.
Oh yeah, that's Doraemon.
Yeah, that's him. That's the name.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. In Reshift of Destruction, some but not all monsters have effects, and their effects are incredibly difficult to understand because it will not tell you it's an effect monster. It will say, this monster can do this, and you have to, as a gamer, figure out if that is flavor text or if that is an ability, because it does not tell you.
Actually, it does, because the cards are different colors.
Oh, it does? Uh-huh.
It's kind of hard. It's hard to tell, but I do remember those cards being. I do remember the effect monsters being a little bit more orange.
Oh, okay. Then I guess I didn't give the game enough credit.
Well, but... no, in normal Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm pretty sure effect monsters are like a darker tint of orange than normal.
They are
monsters.
Normal monsters are yellow. Effect monsters are orange.
Huh?
Yeah, but it's a very slight shift of color.
But anyways, yeah, you have to really abuse not only effect monsters but trap cards too to really make sure that you survive. And you need to abuse low level effect monsters too. For example, Toad Wizard is a 3-star monster with a duelist cost of 87, I believe. And he can summon another monster to the field, which is not his real effect. I believe Toadmaster has a real effect, but it's not that. And then another monster.
See here. It's Toadmaster, right?
Yeah. And then another monster, Electric Lizard, can paralyze an enemy monster. It will auto-target the enemy monster, too. It will auto-target them to the most powerful monster, which is almost how Electric Lizard actually works, but not quite.
Let's see here. Toadmaster. He can destroy... wait, no, I think this is... I think that's a different thing. Wait, Toadmaster. Shit. Shit. Okay, never mind.
I don't know.
Keep going.
I remember that when the main Yu-Gi-Oh game that I got into when I was younger was the Spirit Caller on DS.
Oh, wait, Toadmaster doesn't have an effect normally.
Oh, whoops. Well, I guess Toadmaster is just another one of those cards with a made-up effect entirely.
Yeah, and Electric Lizard...
Electric Lizard has an effect.
Non-zombie monster attacking Electric Lizard cannot attack on its following turn.
Yeah, I was going to say, Electric Lizard's effect was almost accurate to the actual game, but not quite. There was another guy called Spirit of Books who has no ability, but in Reshift of Destruction he can summon a Buku. And,
Buku. Oh, right, that guy. Wait, hang on.
And then there was one there was another monster too who had a really good effect. However, it was not enough to save you in the most dire of situations. Where there's a monster that is a fusion of Flame Swordsman and Dark Magician. His name is Dark Flare Knight, I believe. I might be wrong about that. But Dark Flare Knight is not a fusion monster in Reshift of Destruction. He is a tribute summon monster. And much like the Winged Dragon of Ra, you can send him directly from your hand into your graveyard in order to special summon directly to your field a Mirage Knight. Oh, and by the way, I forgot. Try. You don't need to have these cards that are special summoned in your deck. They will just appear for you.
Okay. So anime logic.
Yeah, so anime logic. But here's the thing. After one turn, Mirage Knight will then destroy itself, and in its place, it will special summon a Dark Magician and a Flame Swordsman.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
Dark Flare Knight is pretty good. However, Reshift of Destruction has another mechanic that can nullify Dark Magician and Flame Swordsman and any card in the game except the Egyptian gods, which is why I said only the Winged Dragon of Ra is the card that can get you out of any pickle, because, again, 4,000 attack and defense points, instant summon.
Of course.
Reshift of Destruction and the Sacred Cards both operate under an element system, akin to Pokemon, but even worse. The element system works as follows. If a monster with an inferior or weak element to the element that you have is attacked by the monster card with a better element, that monster, no matter what, is dead. So if you attack a monster...
elements are now being ranked?
No, that was the thing in
How are
Reshift
we
of Destruction.
ranking?
For example, a fire element monster can destroy a monster that's element is regarded as forest. So even if that fire monster has 0 attack and defense points, and the forest monster has 3,000, the forest monster is dead.
So we're playing by Duelist Kingdom rules then,
Kinda, yeah.
which is just make it up as you go.
That was in Reshift of Destruction, yeah.
Yeah.
That was how
So-
you're supposed to win duels, Tar. You're supposed to BS the entire game by
You know what? You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like it sounds like the game was made before the Battle City arc, because when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh originally wasn't about the card game. It was just a bunch of card games, and there was like it was connected to this like ancient like Egyptian pharaoh and stuff. So the whole Yu-Gi-Oh card game came about because in one of the chapters they played a game called Duel Monsters, and it was pretty popular, and Konami wanted to take that and make it into a real card game, and they basically strong-armed the creator to make it into make the entire manga, and in turn make the anime about Duel Monsters.
These games came out after Battle City. And
Okay, no, that doesn't mean they're in that doesn't mean they're in production.
The very
before.
first game that used these mechanics was a retelling of Battle City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the other game this one was the one that I really liked. This one actually was based around Battle City.
Yeah, Sacred
Kind
Cards.
of. I can't remember the exact title.
Well, Sacred Cards was
was
the other one I played. It was you play as some kid with an orange baseball cap that's flipped on backwards, and he's friends with Yugi and Joey, and they all enter Battle City. And then, instead of Yugi or Joey doing anything, you duel a bunch of the main characters and the ghouls, and you beat Merrick.
It seems about right.
Yeah, Sacred Cards was a hell of a lot better than Reshift of Destruction, because it was, like, 1,000,000 times more balanced. Cards were not extensively expensive. Leveling up your duelist level was so much easier, and, like, you could have like decks of 4 or 3-star monsters and some really good heavy hitters too. The duelist level system was still stupid, but at least it wasn't completely broken. Yeah, and Reshift of Destruction... Oh yeah, that's another thing too. In Sacred Cards, you get a pretty good sum of money for winning duels, and again, cards are not sold to you for like $1,000,000. In Reshift of Destruction, you get like $86 by beating someone like Joey, and again, Yugi's grandfather at the card shop will sell you like garbage cards for like $3,000 or $4,000. So think about that, and then think about how much money he sells you the expensive cards for. In fact, I have this game right now. Let me boot it up and get you some figures.
Yeah, okay. So I've got the Reshift of Destruction Wikia page up, and Yeah, it is. I see it's past. I what I think sometimes ends up happening is they feel like the people playing the video games don't actually want to play the straight card game. They want to make it more interesting.
They want to make
Because
it their own.
yeah, because if you're gonna play the card game, why not just play the actual card game? Why would you want to play another Game Boy game after let me go back. This is on the Game Boy Advance. This is the
Yeah,
like
the GBA.
Just on the Game Boy Advanced. This is let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the sixth game out of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's the sixth out of 12 games just on the Game Boy Advance. Four
Oh,
on
I'm
the
sorry.
Game Boy
Your
Color.
duelist, your starting level isn't 86. It's 76. God help me.
Seems kind of random.
It means you have even more grinding to do than I initially thought. Let's see here. Christ. Well, this is a whole new game file I'm operating under. Let's see here. $11,000 for a 4-star monster.
This is making me want to go back and replay which one was it? This is making me want to go back and play Spirit Caller on the DS.
Oh yeah, here you go. Here's Neo the Magic Swordsman. Neo the Magic Swordsman is a moderately useful card in modern regular Yu-Gi-Oh! In Reshift of Destruction, he would be incredibly OP if you actually could summon him. But if you can't, which is more than likely, he is a 233 duelist level monster. So let that sink into you. 1 level per every 3 victories, and your starting level is 76.
Yikes.
Yeah, boy. Gotta get them tasty pain and
victories.
Suffering. No.
But you can only wait. Oh no, it wasn't like in Reshift of Destruction. It wasn't that you could only earn money from each duel once. It was that you could earn is that you could only duel each person once.
You could reduel Yugi and Joey more than once,
Yes.
but yeah, random scrubs you can only duel once. So you had to keep fighting Yugi and Joey.
You have to keep. Well, you have to keep fighting Yugi because Yugi's easier.
Yugi was easier? Excuse me? Yugi had a monster called Sangan, which has 1,000 attack points, which when you're fighting with with level 3 and level 1 monsters, a 1,000 attack point monster is a lot.
I remember, I could never beat Joey. I could never get around his Kaiba man.
His Kaiba man? What Kaiba man? You mean his Battle Warrior? Joey
in Reshift of Destruction, right?
He didn't have a Kaiba man. Kaiba man was Kaiba's card. Joey had a Battle Warrior, a Mountain Warrior, a Kaguya of the Blue Flame, a Baby Dragon, a Time Wizard, an Armed Ninja.
I could swear in Reshift of Destruction, Joey had a Kaiba man.
Kaiba man, even if he had a Kaiba man sucks balls. He has 200 attack points and 700 defense points.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Kaiba man's terrible. His only ability is to summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon straight from your hand, which is good if you have a Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand. You must be describe the card. Describe the card. I'll see if I can figure it for you.
I can't remember anything of it.
Base stats at least. Attack and defense points. That'll do.
Fuck. I think it had 800 attack.
800 attack. Yeah, that was the red warrior of the Blue Flame, I believe. A red person, ponytail, on a boat with a knife and a spear.
I can't remember.
Let me see if I can find it for you.
I've got his deck profile up on right here for Reshift of Destruction. Let me send
something of the Blue Flame.
Yeah, it's Kagemusha of the Blue Flame.
Okay, weird. I remember I always beat Yugi, but I could never beat I could never ever beat Joey.
That's
this card,
sad.
right? This thing, right?
Yeah, I think maybe.
Yeah, here's how you beat this card. This card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Wait, hold on. This card right here in real life Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an earth monster, but in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reshift of Destruction, it's a fire monster. So basically what you do is you just hit it with any monster that has a water attribute. but that just makes this more confusing.
Wait, hang on. Actually, I think it might have been Battle Warrior.
Yeah, because
Battle Warrior?
that's
Battle
what I
Warrior is
was-
blue. Yeah, Battle Warrior has 700 attack points and 1,000 defense points.
Was it Flame Swordsman that you're thinking of?
I don't know
No,
if it's
Flame Swordsman's a fusion monster.
Yeah.
No, he's a tribute summon in Reach
Oh,
of
it's
Destruction.
tribute summon. Because
But-
fusions don't exist, I guess. I don't know. Wait, well, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they do. But
Fusions exist, but they're,
they're difficult to
rituals
get
now.
out.
Yeah,
Fusions
because, like,
exist, but in Reshift they're rituals for some reason.
because,
Okay, right.
Because Flame Swordsman has 1,800 attack, 1,600 defense.
No, it wasn't that high.
Okay.
You're
Flame
dealing
Swords-
with level 1 and 2 monsters here. Like, even something as high as 800 can body you.
Here's the thing, is that Joey had another card in his deck that I'm surprised wasn't the thing that bodied you. He summoned Baby Dragon, which had 1,200 attack points, which is basically the death knell.
I don't think I ever dealt with a baby dragon.
Well, he only has one of those in his deck in Reshift, so the chances of him actually summoning it aren't as high.
They're very high if you duel him as often as I do, because one thing you can do as a very early game strategy is basically bully Joey until he gives you a baby dragon, then throw out all of your cards, stuff it in your deck, and then just keep going until you can summon a baby dragon and kill the early game monsters.
Except that doesn't work when you get to China and you have to deal with frenzied pandas.
No, but that's not as early game. Here's how you deal with Frenzy Panda, okay, Tar?
Okay.
One of the cards you start with in the game is a monster called Peacock. Remember this, it's important.
I remember the peacock.
What you have to do with the Paradox Brothers... Spoiler alert, by the way, it's the Paradox Brothers who summoned the Frenzy Panda in China.
Yes, the Paradox Brothers. That's who I was. That was who walled me.
Yeah, those guys, here's what you do. You have to... Now, this is important. You have to, first, start with an opening hand with a fire monster and a peacock in your hand. This might require many, many resets. Preferably peacock, because... Hold on, I'll get to that in a sec. But preferably peacock. Now, what you do then is you set a fire attribute monster, and then... You also have to go first, by the way. This is important. And you have to go first, set a fire attribute monster, then you have to hope that your Paradox Brother opponent will summon Frenzied Panda, attack your fire attribute monster, and then immediately kill its own Frenzy Panda, because Frenzy Panda is a forest monster, which are instant killed by fire monsters. Then, on your next turn, tribute summon your fire monster for Peacock, and then at that point, you can kind of kill almost anything he throws at you.
And I remember, like, right beforehand, there was this weird battle on the subway where you were going through a tunnel, and then that affected the field.
Yeah,
Which
the dark field
gives you a
spells are...
big- Which gives you a big boost to your ritual monster. Thanks.
Field spells are so weird in Reshift of Destruction because, like, they buff monsters' powers, I think, based on their levels, but the buffing is super bizarre because it doesn't give you, like, a straight buff, like 200 or 100 or anything, and it doesn't give you, like, a 50% buff either. For example, Nightmare Curtain. Try, are you listening?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Nightmare Curtain is a 2-star monster with 600 attack and defense points normally. In Reshift of Destruction, in Darkness, its attack points are boosted to 970. Kind of funky, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, and other monsters
Yeah, I
have...
remember, like, your ritual monster, like, starts off at 2,500 and then gets boosted to, like, 3,120 or something?
Yeah, like, buffing in this game from field spells is super weird. And stat weakenings, too. Like, a fairy monster loses power in Darkness, but it might lose a weird percentage of power. Like, Key Mace has, like, 120 attack points, which is super confusing, because it's like... And then your life bars, your life points, get completely bodied and effed up in the duels, because sometimes your opponent will have, like, 3,735 HP left, and you'll have, like, 749 HP left, and you'll be like, this is so weird.
So it
These
sounds like to
percentages are
me
weird.
that Reshift of Destruction's a solid game. How many stars would you give it?
No. No.
I'll buy that.
Because I can just see this conversation just going on and on because
No, I want to keep going.
Because a game as perfect as this has so many wonderful qualities to talk about that we can continue on all day.
Oh, by the way, Tara, I never got back to why I said you should summon Peacock instead of any other tribute summon monster. And the reason for that is because at this point in the game, most likely, you would have either a high power wind monster or a high power earth monster, both of which can be destroyed easily by a Paradox Brother monster that is either wind or forest attribute. Meanwhile, the Paradox Brother Para, who you fight, has no fire monsters, so the only way he can destroy your Peacock is by boosting the attack of one of his normal monsters, or if you let him, tribute summon a monster that just has more power than it. So basically summon that Peacock and just kill everything.
Yeah,
Just keep killing stuff.
I remember I tried to wall him out because I got the Morphing Jar number 2, which has a relatively high defense stat, and I think it's a defense stat. And I got the Wasteland, which boosts the Morphing Jar number 2 stats.
Oh.
But I don't remember how well that worked.
Well, Morphing Jar number 2 is an earth monster, so it probably was instant killed by one of his wind monsters. Plus, Morphing Jar number 2 has higher attack than defense points, so that probably didn't work as well for you as you thought.
Oh, so maybe I wasn't trying to wall. Maybe I was trying to actually push.
Yeah, he has this one monster that's called, like, the Blade Fan person... like, Fan Fighter, I believe? Which is a monster with 2,200 attack points, which is pretty intimidating, but it's a wind monster. Because it's wind, it can instant kill any earth monster, but because it's wind, Peacock can instant kill it by being a forest monster, so that's, again, why I said use Peacock.
And then Peacock have like 1,500 attack?
It has 1,700 attack.
1,700, even better.
And the other thing I should mention, too, is that after you beat
really loving that Peacock.
Oh yeah, I forgot one more thing. In Reshift of Destruction, you have to go all the way back to your save point to restore your life points at the end of every duel. So if you get stuck in a succession of duels, your life points don't go back to 8,000. And this is important because after you beat one of the Paradox Brothers, then the other Paradox Brother shows up and says that they're going to duel you a second time, so then you have to duel one of them another time with the same amount of HP as you had from the last duel, but the person you're dueling has full HP.
So you're telling me that this game wants to be both a Yu-Gi-Oh game and a standard JRPG?
Kind of. But here's the cool
because
thing.
all I'm hearing...
Here's the cool thing, at least. Tara, you never saw this, but if you actually manage to beat the Paradox Brothers both times, which I did, then Kaiba will show up and he'll Blue Eyes White Dragon both of them, which is pretty satisfying. It's pretty satisfying. Kaiba's like, you guys are a bunch of morons. And they're like, screw you, Kaiba. And he's like, no, screw you. Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Speaking of Kaiba, he was the hardest opponent in the other game that I really liked that was based off of Battle City. Or at least I think it was based off of Battle City. At the very least, this game followed Yu-Gi-Oh! As we know it.
Yeah, Sacred Cards was a retelling of Battle City, except where you, as main character man, are the main character, and Yugi is kind of irrelevant, and Joey appears a lot, but he doesn't appear a lot.
Wait, oh, okay, I found it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition, Stairway to the Destined Duel. That one was the one that I really loved.
Oh, in that case, I'm mouthing off about a completely different game. Whoops. I was talking about a game that also had Reshift of Destruction rules, but was a lot more fair, called Sacred Cards. You were talking about Stairway to Destiny, which is a game I never played, but I can attest to...
I think I played a little bit of Sacred Cards, but it reminded me too much of the fucking Reshift of Destruction. I did appreciate that it gave me a monster that I think it was called Gonin. It looked... All I remember is its base defense stat was 900, and that could wall anything that the scrubs could throw at me.
Sacred Cards was a lot more fair of a game, although in fact, it was really easy to break if you're like me and you knew what you were doing, because I actually speedrun Sacred Cards sometimes just for funsies. There's a guy very early in the game, his name is Tristan. He sucks balls, but if you beat him, Oh, that's right. I forgot. Try. There's another mechanic in Sacred Cards and Reshift of Destruction that you use to get cards because Yugi's grandfather is a goddamn extortion.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Here's the thing. What you have to do is, at the start of a duel, you pick one of your cards to use as an ante. If you lose the duel, you lose the card. If you win the duel, you get a card of the opponent from a predetermined set of cards that they can give you.
So like the
But here's another thing too. Like I was saying, yeah, what Tar mentioned is you can only duel people who aren't Yugi and Joey and Tristan and Duke Evelyn once. So you can't farm for cards from them. So you have to farm for cards from Yugi and Joey and Duke and Tristan. This is bad, however, because those guys are actually really hard to beat, and if you lose your cards, then you have even less cards than you usually do. And here's the best part I forgot to mention. In Reshift of Destruction, you cannot sell cards you cannot sell cards or put a card up for ante if you only have one of them. So if you run out of ante cards, you cannot put up any more, even if you're not using the card. So by the way, Try and Tar, I have a proposal. Let's start the Bros in the Landfill live streams, and then we play Reshift of Destruction first.
No, I will not play that. I will not play that again. I would rather play DX2 than Reshift of Destruction.
Oh, but Reshift of Destruction actually has some nice characters.
So you're telling me to download an emulator, live stream that shit, and have Dizzy laugh at me for failing?
No, because we would rotate, and I'd also fail.
Yeah, man.
We'd rotate after every duel, and I would also frequently lose. I did find
we definitely need to get back and get into the live stream game just once. Once we get just
I
once.
was gonna say though, I found one strategy that kind of almost sort of works for Reshift of Destruction, which is to fight fire with fire. And by that, I mean most of the duels against the villains that you have takes place in the Darkness Field stage. So I basically filled my deck with fiends and spellcasters, so that when we had the Darkness Field stage, I would have the upper hand.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, haha, suckers.
Again, it benefits the dark. Weirdly enough, the Darkness benefits the highest base power card you have.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that the opponent can. There's nothing your opponents can do to, at least for the one antagonist battle I had. There's nothing you can do to get past it.
You must have had.
I don't think it was actually a ritual monster. I think it was just a 2 summon. It was just a 2 tribute.
Yeah. Ritual summons are weird in this game because you need to have a specific monster and then 2 other tributes on the field, and you also have to have not normal summoned that turn, and you also have to have the ritual card, obviously.
Yeah.
Or
that's.
Or here we go again. Or you can just put the ritual monster itself into your deck and then tribute summon it normally and get all the benefits. However, you ready for this?
However,
Try, are you listening?
I'm listening.
Ritual monsters in Reshift of Destruction have a duelist level of 999, the maximum.
Wait.
What the shit?
Yeah. So if you want to summon any ritual monster without going through the ritual requirements, you need to be the max level and also stuff a 999 cost monster into your deck and stuff out a bunch of other high level monsters so that you can have 40 cards in your deck.
What the shit? Okay, yeah. The Stairway to the Destined Duel system was a lot better. You could have a minimum of 40 cards, maximum of 60.
But at the very least, ritual spell cards had a 0 cost. So if you're a moron like me, you'd stuff your deck with ritual spell cards because your deck was already so close to the maximum because you had to stuff out a bunch of cards to put level 3 monsters with more than 1,000 attack points in your deck.
I don't even know how to.
Such a bad system.
I don't even know how to process this.
Well, I mean, like,
Oh, and here's the best part too. Someone like hacked the game to like give themselves the maximum level and the maximum deck space humanly possible, and they still couldn't make a good deck. It was the dual the deck capacity was too like the cost for every card was too high, and they could not like stuff their deck with good enough cards without it going over limit.
This is just This is just hurting me.
This is just hurting you.
Yeah.
It's for reasons like this that in most modern Yu-Gi-Oh games, you just kind of put cards in your deck, and that's kind of the end of it.
hope and pray. Yeah, in Stairway to the Destined Duel, you can have a minimum of 40 cards, maximum of 60. And after if you lose a duel, nothing happens. If you win a duel, you get 5 random cards.
Oh, wait, I forgot. I haven't told you. But wait, there's more. I just remembered something else about Ratio of Destruction.
Oh boy.
Hey.
Okay, so get this. Outside of spell cards that will total the entire field, equipped and power-up spell cards cannot have chosen targets. They simply automatically choose the only monster on the field. Whatever monster on the field is the strongest and also that the ability applies to. So you can't choose specific equipped spell cards to specific monsters, and every equipped spell card only works on specific monsters. And then there comes other abilities that target specific monsters. There's one card that's actually really good called Beckon into Darkness, which will give which will instant kill the strongest monster on the opponent's side of the field.
Ooh,
only
that
one
does
of their
sound
cards. Then there's another card
Nice.
called Monster.
What's the catch?
Oh no, the catch is that it only works once.
Yeah.
And some cards are unaffected by it, like Ritual Monsters.
Oh, lovely.
Which,
That
oh, by
makes
the way,
it worth the $9.99 duelist cost.
well, maybe for you, but for enemies, the enemies have no duelist cost, by the way. I should probably mention. Enemies have decks that literally cannot be replicated because you cannot possibly stuff your deck with the same cards, even at 999 deck capacity.
Because that's good game design.
Enemies are straight up cheaters. And there's another card, Monster Reborn. I'm sure you're all familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
the legendary
Monster
card.
Reborn. Monster Reborn in Reshift of Destruction, for one thing, is a 255 cost card, I believe. So it's really expensive. And Monster
Wait,
Reborn
is
will...
this domino? Is this like money, or is this duelist cost?
It's referred to... This is... Duelist cost is 255. Domino money is like 30,000, I think.
Holy fuck!
But Monster Reborn in Reshift of Destruction will automatically summon the monster in your opponent's graveyard to your side of the field. It will not work on your own cards.
I mean,
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, speaking of graveyards, graveyards are really wonky in Reshift of Destruction. For example, only one card is ever in your graveyard at one time, which means every other card in your graveyard is removed from play as soon as another card is added in. So if I have a Blue Eyes White Dragon in my graveyard, and then my Furious Sea King is destroyed, that Blue Eyes White Dragon is out of the game, and Furious Sea King is now the only card in my graveyard.
game design?
But don't worry, because Spell and Trap cards aren't in graveyards.
Okay.
And then there's another card that's actually very useful called Change of Heart, and here's the biggest shock in the entire game for all of you. Change of Heart does exactly what it does in Reshift of Destruction as it does in regular Yu-Gi-Oh!
Wait, that one is completely unchanged?
Yeah, you just brainwash an enemy monster and it's yours.
Well, hot damn.
Oh,
Reshift
yeah.
of Destruction gets something right.
Just try buying it, though. Just try it.
What's its duelist cost?
Its duelist cost, it's freaking expensive, I can tell you that much. I don't remember.
Just load your deck with it, and just
Oh,
throw
you
all your
can't.
opponent's monsters.
Oh, that reminds me. I forgot about one other thing. In real-life regular Yu-Gi-Oh!, just a regular standard card you can have a maximum of 3 copies in, and a limited card you can have a limited number of copies in, as the name
I believe that
mentions.
one's 1.
Yeah.
And banned cards you can't have at all. And in Reshift of Destruction, the same applies too. You can have 3 of almost any card and no more, except for specific cards that are limited, like Change of Heart and Monster Reborn are limited. Enemies have no ban or limit system. They can have whatever card they want.
Oh, so we're operating under selective anime rules.
Oh, by the way, I just remembered, speaking of ritual monsters, anime rules, and bullshit, there is one monster, I don't actually know what it does in real-life Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I've been told it's been banned ever since the beginning, which was Thousand Eyes Restrict. Is this correct?
Thousand Eyes Restrict.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
It is a 1-star fusion ritual monster fused from Relinquished. Remember what I told you about ritual monsters costing $9.99 and stuff?
Let's see here. Other monsters on the field cannot change their battle positions or attack. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls. Equip that target to this card, max 1. This card's attack, defense become equal to the equipped monsters. If this card would be destroyed by battle, destroy the equipped monster instead.
Yeah, I think Thousand Eyes Restrict is still banned, isn't it, in actual mainline Yu-Gi-Oh?
Probably.
I mean, I think it's actually been taken off the ban list recently, but it's
Really?
not.
Dang.
It's not because of power creep. It's not as applicable.
I see. But yeah, in Reshift of Destruction... Oh yeah, by the way, Tar, how many stars did Thousand Eyes Restrict have?
1.
Alright, now remember everything I told you about ritual and fusion monsters and let it sink in really fast.
Well, because Relinquished is a ritual monster with 1 star, right?
Yeah, but what did I tell you about other ritual monsters?
Oh, right. 999.
No. That's not it. Think about fusion monsters too. What did I tell you about fusion monsters?
They're replaced with ritual monsters.
No, you tribute summon them instead
They
of
ha-
fusing them.
Instead of
I'm saying... Let me just
Wait,
spell it
hang
out.
on. Does
I'm
this
saying
one-
you...
Wait, hang on. Does
Yeah.
this one also require the 2 other summons? The 2 other tributes?
No, you can normal summon Thousand Eyes Restrict because it's a 1-star monster.
Oh, fun!
Yep. Oh, and Thousand Eyes Restrict pretty much has an even better effect, actually, if I recall correctly. Are you ready for this? Are
Yeah,
you ready,
boy.
kids? Thousand Eyes Restrict. My memory might be a little bit hazy, but if I recall correctly, Thousand Eyes Restrict can not only steal the most powerful monster on your opponent's side of the field, but it then gives that monster a +2 power increase. Oh, and it's no tributes, by the way. You can just slap it down. Just slap it down, steal your enemy's monster, and then make the enemy's monster literally twice as powerful as they normally are. Oh, and by the way, it's a ritual monster, so its cost is $9.99. And you can only have 1 in your deck. Unless you're an enemy NPC AI, in which case you can have 3.
That sounds right.
Yep.
That sounds good.
The only thing it doesn't work on is other ritual monsters and Egyptian god cards, which again is why I said Winged Dragon of Ra. It's the only thing that can save you.
I don't even know how to process all this.
Yeah, the game is made to F you over. Oh, and I haven't even talked about trap cards yet.
Oh, fun.
Trap cards in Reshift of Destruction are incredibly simplistic. They will go off automatically when an opponent monster attacks, and they will do things as a result. Trap cards, most normal trap cards start from a scale of destroy a monster with this many attack points or less that attacks. Also, the inability to choose when the trap card will go off means that your opponent can spring the trap with a weaker monster and then attack with their stronger monster. So first
fun.
you have Eat Bagoon. First you have House of Adhesive Tape, which will destroy a 500 attack point monster that attacks. Then you have Eat Bagoon, which is 1,000. In Bear Trap, 1,500. Invisible Wire, 2,000. And Acid Trap Hole, which is 3,000. And let's all just ignore the fact that that's not how some of those trap cards work.
Well, obviously.
Then you have
We can't
Widespread...
expect the people playing this to actually know anything about the game.
Then you have Widespread Ruin, which will instant kill any one monster that attacks. And then you have Torrential Tribute, which in real-life Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually a pretty damn good card. In
Yeah.
Reshift of Destruction, it's Mirror Force.
Oh, yay.
And then you also
what does
have...
Well,
Mirror
Mirror
Force
Force
do?
is also
Mirror
pretty
Force-
damn good.
Mirror Force isn't in the game.
Oh, of course. Because they couldn't
Yeah.
just put Mirror Force in the game.
You also have Reverse Regeki, which I forgot to mention, Regeki is in the game, and it's OP as fuck, because it also actually does what it's supposed to do. Just wipes the field, your opponent's field, I mean. Then you have, but you have anti-Regeki, which will destroy the user of Regeki's field instead. And then you have Goblin's Fan, whatever, which basically, if you use a spell card that inflicts effect damage, you get hit with
card.
it. But here's the thing too.
Okay.
Widespread Ruin and Torrential Tribute are super good cards that the player character is only limited to 1 for, and they're also super expensive, both money and duelist level. Again, enemies can have 3 of each.
So you're telling me that unless if you use the Winged Dragon of Ra cheat, the game's incredibly luck-based?
It's not a cheat, and it's also luck. It's still luck-based because you have to have the Winged Dragon of Ra in your hand.
So this is like the most luck-based Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever been?
It's not even luck-based. It's just bull. It's just total BS.
It is just bull.
It's just BS completely. Oh, I forgot to mention, speaking of the Winged Dragon of Ra cheat, the final boss, I don't even know how this happens, but like the final boss also has the 3 Egyptian god cards, so he can also do the Winged Dragon of Ra cheat. But he doesn't.
Wait, but he knows about the Winged Dragon of Ra cheat? That was an intentional thing they put in the game?
Yeah, it was an intentional thing. If the Winged Dragon of Ra Phoenix mode is in your graveyard, you can special summon Winged Dragon of Ra battle mode to your field. It's not the only monster that does that either. Dark Flare Knight will also special summon immediately a Mirage Knight when sent to the graveyard.
Oh yeah, I think you told us that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few other cards too, but I think I might be forgetting them. But yeah, like, it's... but here's the weird thing. The final boss has the 3 Egyptian god cards as well, but he doesn't steal them from you. You still have them. Oh, I forgot to mention too. The Winged Dragon... Not the Winged Dragon, the final boss of the game has, I believe, 12,000 life points. Oh, and you also have to fight... Before you fight him, you also have to fight his avatar, who I won't say who it is because I still want to force you to play this game. But you have to fight the person he's been working through, the person who has been his avatar, who has 10,000 life points. And before him, you have to fight Kaiba, who actually I think plays fair with 8,000. And before you fight Kaiba, you have to fight Mokuba, who has 8,000. And before you fight Mokuba, you have to fight a random grunt monster. And before you fight the random grunt monster, you have to fight all the other heroes in the game.
What?
And you can't go back and save?
You can go back and save until you fight Mokuba. At that point, you're stuck on a constant fight forward. So you can fight all the heroes in the game one by one after frequently saving. But once you get to the Mokuba fight, you have to fight Mokuba, then you have to fight Kaiba, then you have to fight the Avatar for the villain, and then you have to fight the final boss.
So my question to you is, can I just use Exodia because when I would play Spirit Caller, I would basically just cheese the game and just abuse the instant wins, like final countdowns, destiny boards, and
do you want the
Exodia
funniest...
just stall.
Okay, well,
I
let
don't
me
think
tell you.
Exodia is a thing in this one.
No, actually he is, and that's another thing. You can just bully Yugi Moto at the very beginning of the game until he gives you all 5 pieces of Exodia, and then rather than throwing them in the ocean, you can just stuff them in your deck. The problem is, something else I forgot to mention, in Reshift of Destruction, you can only have 5 cards in your hand. That is your maximum. And the only draw card in the game is Pot of Greed, which is super expensive in both money and duelist level. So you can Exodia, but you can't build an Exodia deck, not really. There's no Graceful Charity, there's no Jar of Greed, there's no Reckless Greed, there's no Sangon. There's Sangon, but there's no Sangon ability.
There's no Upstart Goblin.
There's no Upstart Goblin. Oh yeah, and I forgot to
not.
mention, Spirit Board, I forgot to mention, is actually kind of funky, because you can buy all the individual letters for super cheap, as I recall, but the actual trap message board for F that you need to complete all of them is 999 duelist level cost.
What?
So you can buy a whole bunch of useless letters, but you can't buy the most important letter, which is the F for FU, for give this game a shit.
That's...
Well, no, it's not shit, but it is shit. I keep coming back to this too because I'm laughing. But do you want to know why I know so much about this game?
Because you truly care?
No, because even though this game is mechanically god awful and insanely hard to play, I feel this compelling to play it because I can feel a lot of effort was put into the story and characters. It's a coherent story where everything makes sense, and I was genuinely on the edge of my seat until I slouched in it thinking, oh great, another duel.
I mean,
It was mind-bending. I really liked the characters in this game. They were all compelling. Yugi Moto, Joey Wheeler, Seto Kaiba, My Valentine, even Tristan and Duke Devlin had, like, important stuff to do. And, like, Ishizu was there, too. And, like, all this stuff was happening. And when they said, like, there were moments where I was thinking in my head, the writers were writing something, and in their heads they were thinking, the player's gonna read this, and they're gonna go, yeah! And I was playing it, and I was like, yeah! And then I was like, and then I got to another duel, and I was like, no! No! And I kept forcing myself through it, but it was so painful, I could never beat it. And it drives me insane. I'm going insane because the game is so well written, but it's so poorly made.
That feeling when the cutscenes are better than the actual gameplay.
They are. Remember when I told you that Kaiba like Blue Eyes White Dragons, the Paradox Brothers in China? It's so satisfying
Because
these guys...
the Paradox Brothers are a couple bastards, that's why.
Exactly why. They're such bastards. And then you beat them. And not only do you beat them, Kaiba's like, yeah, Blue Eyes White Dragon. And you're like, yeah, take that. Yeah, make me suck your frenzy panda. Get White Lightning to the face. And then they run away with their tail between their legs like, oh shit, we messed up. Oh god. And I'm like, yeah, you run. I beat you. Yeah. And I'm like, I would like this so much more if it was playable.
Oh man, I might have to go online and find some sort of let's play of this because
But does the Blue Eyes White Dragon blast them into space?
Unfortunately, no. But it's still really cool.
Then clearly the writers didn't know what they were doing.
Obtrusive segue.
Yep. So
I see what you're doing there.
So we've spent. Let's see. How long has this recording been going on for? Let's see.
Not long
we
enough.
talked about Yu-Gi-Oh. Specifically
Reshef Destruction.
Yeah, Reshef Destruction for an hour. So I think to give the listeners who are still listening some breather. Let's talk about something actually interesting for a change. Oh wait, space.
This is Landfill.
Except space is actually interesting.
Sure.
Fight
me.
me.
You. Sure.
This Last Jedi sucked. Fight me.
Yep. So.
I want Try to make his case.
Yeah. See, I was just about to say I should make my case first. So.
Because Try is the one with the wrong opinion. Okay, go.
Well, fuck you. I'm a relativist. There are no such things as wrong opinions, unless if you're a Nazi, then fuck you.
I'm of course being facetious.
I know. So, how should I start with this? It's not that space doesn't have interesting qualities to it. It's that because I had something in my head, and then we went off this whole tangent of Reshef of Destruction, and
right.
I completely zoned out. I completely lost my place. So
I win.
Yeah, so you win.
So
yeah.
I win. Space is cool.
Yeah. Well, no, but you still haven't convinced me that space is cool. So I think part of it comes back to me being a relativist. My worldview is that because of the nature of humanity and the nature of observation, it is physically impossible for humans to observe everything in the world correctly. There is no way for us to know if what we see is correct, and I guess it goes into the simulation. Like part of it's like, how do we know we're not in a simulation? How do we know that I'm not just a crazy person stuck in a cell pretending all this is happening and the world's completely different? How do I know you guys aren't just voices in my head as I'm sitting in front of a computer?
What?
Okay, what does this
I
have
mean,
to do with
if
space?
you want to talk about like, when did this become Metal Gear Solid 2?
Okay, I don't know. I've never played Metal Gear Solid. My point about space is literally the vast unknown, and I'm less interested about like space itself doesn't interest me because I don't care about things we can't um like observe or tangible well tangible stuff. It's so vast, and I guess because the so with my worldview being that nothing can truly be known. We can make theories. We can measure what we observe, but I see the appeal of space being that it's so vast and there's so many things we don't know and there's so many um, possibilities out there. There might be life out there, etc. I feel about that way about like Earth and what we have right here. There is so much about this world that we we think we know, that there like we keep learning new things every day about finding like new species, new like how like new things with science and whatnot.
Of course.
And
that's the purpose of science.
Yeah, I know. And I think like hundreds of years ago, the how we observed the world was much different because we didn't have the information necessary to observe certain parts of it. Like before we realized, for example, like when people thought the Earth was flat because they couldn't go out and explore the world.
Curvature.
You can't see curvature unless if you're up from a high enough plane.
Way high.
Yeah.
For any potential flat earthers out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you go high,
if fight me.
But since the appeal of space is there's so much unknown out there, as a relativist who is always skeptical of information we hear now,
you're cutting out.
I'm never comfortable with sitting down and saying, okay, well, science has proven this. Okay, yes, maybe it's as true as we can determine it to be, but how do we know that's actually how it functions, or how do we know that this is the cause and this is the effect? What if this is caused by something else?
I thought the point was that we don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's all hypothesis, and that's why we have to test these hypotheses.
Yeah, but see,
for certainties.
Yes, and that's what I'm getting my point. Science is all about hypothesis, and because we don't know everything about our world, and the appeal of science is figuring things out. I don't find space any more interesting than or any different than observations here, except for the fact that we haven't been able to observe everything out there. But
basically, so another way of saying this I could be vastly misinterpreting you, but basically you think that we should get our shit together here before we try to find shit out there.
Well, no,
it just sounds to me like you just don't care about space.
Yeah, no, I don't care about
space. You just don't find it interesting.
Yeah, I don't. For me, space is no more interesting than any other aspect of science. I think science itself is interesting, but I don't find space to be anything special. People make a big deal. Oh, cool! Look at all these possibilities with space and whatnot. And yes, we might find things out in space that change our worldview and our observation. But by the sheer nature of being human, it is physically impossible for us to observe everything correctly because of numerous limitations. And if we were to...
Part of which, sadly, being our proximity in the galaxy relative to everything else.
And
why do we have to be why do we have to be the hermit old man solar system?
And granted, there's the sheer fact that space is a lot of nothing. I do feel there's a smick of we're wasting a lot of time just focusing on space. Not that there isn't value of looking out in space, because we can learn new things about ourselves and
I thought they
whatnot.
said that this Milky Way galaxy wouldn't exist in like 2 million years, and I thought that's why we were looking for a way out, because we were like, shit, like, might not be our problem, but in 2 million years, this planet will be dead. Should probably start looking for a replacement now rather than later. Better to not put it off.
Yeah, but will those answers come from looking out in space or looking down in here?
I thought
because
like another universe was going to collide with our universe. Another solar system was going to collide with our solar system or something. So they're like, yeah, we won't live long enough to die from this, but better start looking for the people who are going to live long enough to die for this.
yeah.
That was my reading of the space program. It's in 2 million years, this planet's going to get screwed, and finding a planet isn't easy, so let's get started looking for it now.
Well, half the problem isn't if we can necessarily find a planet, because for how vast the space is, it's not by the time we find a planet, it's going to be. We also have to consider how we're going to get to that planet. How will we make that planet so we can inhabit and whatnot? And
we actually found a planet like that just recently. Let me try to figure out how far away it is. Let's see here. Never mind. 470 light years. Lol.
Yeah. So my point comes down to this. At some point, yes, we're gonna have to leave the planet, assuming that humanity lives that long.
Well, I'm not gonna, because I'll be long dead.
Oh yeah, no, but
humans as a collective.
Yeah, humans as a collective at some point will have to leave the planet. But by time when we do find a planet, if we find a planet that's suitable for us, it's gonna be so far away that it's gonna take generations of people just to get there. And
I actually wrote a story about that once.
We don't have the resources.
Yeah, we don't have the resources right now and technology right now to even consider going out to that planet. It is far more realistic to figure out a way for us to survive in space in general.
I guess that's why a lot of sci-fi stories have special space stations and stuff that float around in space. And
yeah, it is far more realistic to focus on our technology here, so we can find ways to live out in space. We don't have to go. The most we could potentially find to help us by going out into space right now is finding new materials or new whatchamacallits. New things that we can use to enhance our own technology. But that's still a gamble that we don't know. There's value in
elements are limited in how they act and behave and jumble together.
Yeah.
Try. Are you suggesting that we make No Man's Sky a reality?
Yep.
I never played No Man's Sky.
I didn't either, but it sounded really boring.
Sure.
This is not turning into No Man's Sky cast.
Fuck you, Hello Games.
Shit. I don't think I physically can convince Try that space is cool, because I was going to use excerpts from exoplanet discoveries that just break the laws of physics.
Well, no,
it's not that they break the laws of physics. It's that it's weird compared to how things are here on terra firma prima.
So something like that's cool, but it's not cool because of space and does not make space any cooler than it is. The fact that exists is, we live in space and there's a lot of cool things here. Does that this is the fact that we exist, and all this cool stuff we have exist, being technically in space, makes space more interesting.
Oh, so you've been interpreting it all along as me saying the vacuum, the blackness of space itself is cool, when that's not what I meant at all.
No, I know I was putting words in your mouth there.
Space exploration is cool. Astronomy is cool. That's what I mean. That's what I've been meaning this entire time.
Well, okay. So when it comes to the space exploration and whatnot, it's because of, and it wouldn't be an issue if everything wasn't so far away. If it didn't take.
That is the main obstacle we're going to have to overcome.
I think it wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't so far away, because if it was really close, the planet's gravities would tear each other apart, wouldn't it?
Well, we're assuming this. We're assuming this is a. We could be living in a universe where
away.
Yeah. No. But when it comes to, and mainly when I said space isn't cool, I was talking more that when I was thinking more so about the conversation when it comes to stories in space. I'm not really interested and invested, but that might also just go back into my opinions of the whole space debacle.
Space
Right.
debacle.
That's probably a belief system that I certainly can't overturn.
Major Tom to ground control.
I'm more interested in the evolution of humanity itself and the interconnections of humans, and that's why I get so frustrated when I see all of this bullshit, like arguing and tribalism online, because humanity is capable of so many great things, and we focus so much of our time and energy and effort, like arguing about the small stuff, when there's people are suffering in the world, and we have the resources to make people better, but nobody actually focuses on them. And in a lot of ways, I view a lot of the space stuff, kind of, well, there's cool things we can learn about the world through space. The amount of time it takes to
verify that data and process it into anything meaningful.
It takes so much time. Whereas if we were pulling those researches to actually getting us out to space, where we might have extending the lifespan of humanity itself.
Thank you, Elon Musk.
Yep. Thank you, Elon Musk. You can come onto this podcast and we won't offer you any weed.
You come onto this podcast and I'm jumping out even earlier than I think I can. Elon Musk. I'd rather watch Elon Flux. That silent show.
I was just going to try to convince that space exploration and space discoveries are cool because of exoplanets, and I wanted to nerd out about them, but okay.
I think there's something to say about space from a writing perspective, too.
Oh.
Like, the actual vacuum of space is kind of boring, but Tar isn't arguing for that, but yeah. It's like when you think about space shows, like shows about aliens and shows about stuff of that nature, it's not really about the space, it's about like the characters' responses to these new environments. Mm-hmm. As far as I never watched Star Trek, but my reading of it, which if there's a Star Trek fan out there that listens to this, they're probably gonna like put their hands in their head in their face. And their hands and be like, oh god, that's not Star Trek at all. But my reading of it was that the interesting things was the characters on the Starship Enterprise and their reactions and the ways they handle these abnormal situations in a space-like environment.
What makes space interesting is not the fact that it's in space. It's how it handles, like, it's a great tool for political intrigue, character studies and whatnot, because it's a certain type of environment that you can only tell certain type of stories in. Where a lot of space stories get it wrong is it focuses on the space elements rather than using the space as a backdrop. That's where my issue comes more from.
I wonder how characters would react to planet HD 189773b, where it's like 9,000 degrees, so hot enough and windy enough where it's constantly raining glass sideways.
Oh man, that's like a weekend in California during summer.
Yeah.
Take that, Californians.
Like I think to things like for example, like I'm interested, like the types of space, like a few seasons ago they did they started the remake of Legend of Galactic Heroes, and as someone who's never been fond of space stories, like I can see incredibly why Legend of the Galactic Heroes is such a legendary series, because it does the whole political and character intrigue thing right. I mean, the whole original novel is a allegory to, it was either World War I or World War II. I don't specifically know the details, but it works because it's a well-told political war drama, where I think as something like, and I'm probably gonna get some flack with this, but I can't stand Star Wars at all. It bores me to tears.
Yeah, I'm Star Wars out too. I used to be really into it.
You're in the right place, because I never liked Star Wars, so this is the one place where you can shit on it and not get any flack for it.
So the most I liked Star Wars is when I played the that one Star Wars game where you
How
played as
dare
Darth
you
Vader's hidden apprentice.
insult Star Wars? I will kill you.
What?
How dare you insult Star Wars? I will kill you. Rah.
Yeah. No,
I'm
but
kidding.
the problem with Star Wars is that it's the only intriguing thing is its world building and its world and its and the space elements and how it's created the space world. The
That was the
actual
old.
well, I mean, it's the for
Sorry, so keep going.
the original trilogy definitely has some is a hallmark of the hero's journey. There are definitely high points, and I can see why people enjoy the characters. It's an incredibly well crafted story. It's not incredibly interesting, though. Where other space stories such as Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and even I know I haven't watched I haven't watched any Star Trek. I've heard a lot of people talk about Star Trek, and the most interesting things about that is its politics and how it because Star Trek is and Starfleet's this whole post I'm trying to think what the term is. Basically it's post necessity. They're in a governmental economic situation where they don't need basically any modern economic systems because it's post scarcity. Starfleet's a post scarcity world, so it's a good tool for examining that type of political structure. Legend of Galactic Heroes, as an allegory to World War I/II, has really interesting criticisms of all sides of the war. And then you have in Star Wars, yes, it in some ways it's an allegory to World War II, but in comparison to something like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, it's kind of a farce. It's not entirely interesting. If you're not completely sold by the world it presents you, it can get incredibly boring.
I was really into Star Wars when I was really young, so I wasn't really in it for the characters or the political intrigue. Yeah. I was in it for the lightsaber I was in it for the lightsaber fights, damn it.
Okay, yeah, no, part of I guess the other thing about Star Wars' appeal is that it's, especially when it comes to classic Star Wars, I'm not talking about like the new ones or the remasters or the whatever, is that they're technically great movies. Like when it comes to the craft, the special effects, even like the writing and the characters are technically really good. But it doesn't do anything particularly interesting with its ideas.
It doesn't do anything new. It doesn't do anything new or interesting, but it handles what it handles well.
It was new when it came out.
Well, yeah.
It probably was new
Star
when
Wars,
it came out.
Yeah, no.
This was the fucking 70s. It was
But
what
see,
got us,
no, and that's,
Star Wars was what got us out of the disco era.
Yeah. No, I'm giving a pass to the original. I'm giving a pass to the original trilogy for.
So as not to upset the fanboys.
Yeah, well, no.
So as not to upset the fanboys who don't even watch this show.
Like,
let's be politically correct for people who can't be offended by us because they don't know we exist.
I can completely understand the appeal of Star Wars, and I get why people like it. But it does everything that I don't like about space shows. And to buttress this point, as a point of comparison, I love time travel stories, regardless of how interesting or how well they're done, because, because I like time travel. Maybe not so much as much now, but as I was growing up, I would love time travel stories no matter how well they're told, because that was something I personally found really interesting. One of the great things about time travel stories is that I think of something like Steins Gate as one of the pinnacle types of time travel stories, is that they are incredible tools for character development and character growth, character development, and I'm trying to think.
I don't know where you could possibly be going with this, other than
Yeah. Okay. So the whole conceit of like Steins Gate is that the main character, he fucks around, like they figure out how to send time traveling texts, and they mess with the time stream, and he has to face the consequences of his actions. And the whole story is a coming of age story of how this like Chunibyo college student has to face his insecurities and realize that his actions do have consequences. And this type of character growth could not have happened outside of a time travel story, because he's forced to. I guess time travel stories are great stories in regards to facing your own, like facing consequences of your actions, because the whole conceit is one slight change of the timeline can throw everything off. And there are so many different interpretations of how time travel can work, is that it makes plenty of interesting ways to tell these types of stories without it becoming redundant.
All I have to say on the topic of time travel is people from the future always worry about messing up the time stream by making small decisions. People of the present never do that. It's not an original contribution, but it's a contribution all the same.
Yeah, well, no shit, because if you... Okay, so if... And this is partially why this type of character development works best in time travel stories, because you can immediately see the consequences of your actions. People in the present can be aware of what potential consequences are going to be when they make their decisions, but as they get further and further into the future, like they're not going to... It takes years to see even the smallest, like even decades to see the effects of small decisions sometimes. And if you're someone from the future making a decision in the past, you can see the ramifications of your actions immediately. And
I mean, it's kind of like when living in the present, your entire objective is to change the future. Mm-hmm. Living in the future but being stuck in the past, your objective is entirely dependent upon who you are as a person. Yeah. Maybe you hate the future and you want to change it. Maybe you're okay with it. Maybe you're scared and you think, I better not touch anything.
Yep, and in the process of trying not to touch anything, you do touch something and it throws everything off.
If I ever got sent...
butterfly effects.
If I got sent back into the past, I'd do something I would immediately change everything just to see how it would affect the timeline. I would say, like, is this like the reality where no matter what you do, everything that you do in the past was supposed to happen? Or is this the reality where you can change the past and make a new future?
Yep. And what makes time travel stories interesting is the most interesting one I find is when they handle the paradoxes that can arise from messing with the past. And
life's natural plot holes.
Yeah, well, because it comes down to if you go to the past to change something, then that's...
Well, hold on a second. I got a little mixed up. When did we start talking about time travel?
Oh no, I was using an example as
time travel better than space.
Okay,
what I was saying is there's a lot of ways to do time travels and stories poorly, like especially if you're using it as one of those Deus Ex Machinas where go back in time, fix every bad mistake that you've done through the story to make everything better.
Oh, no.
And I'm using this as a comparison to people who like space stories, or like, for example, like people who like Star Wars, because
you can't use space as a Deus Ex Machina. Well, maybe you can.
Well, yes, you can.
I mean, yeah, you can use space as
you probably can.
But by nature of using space, you've created infinite possibilities for any being to come in and fuck things around.
I think by introducing multiverse theory, you've brought in the possibility of bringing anything and making it mess around.
Yeah, and that's why I'm using, like, where I find, because the point is people will just sometimes use space as a cool background, where similar to time is a cool time travel is a cool topic, and you can tell a bad space story, and people who are interested in space will still like space stories. You can tell a technically well-crafted space story that doesn't have any really new ideas, and people who like space will still be into it. That's how I am with time travel.
So
You can give me the most bare bones, uninteresting time travel story, and unless if you do it incredibly badly, I will still enjoy it because I am incredibly fascinated by the topic of time and time travel.
out of curiosity, the space talk and now this time travel talk and stuff, are we talking about writing or are we talking about life?
Oh, writing.
Okay. Yeah, I think when it comes to writing, it's just whatever backdrop you use, make sure you know where you're going with it, because otherwise you're just going to write a mess. And also, while we're talking about time travel, how many of you saw that TV show about the three guys that had a book that would take them back to points in history where they had to learn about points in history while also making sure that they didn't change anything? And then later
was this
on,
like on PBS or something?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this
And then
sounds
later
like
on,
a PBS show.
later on, there was like their kids from the future who were all female, who also had the book and had their own adventures.
I know
and
exactly what
sometimes
show
the
you're
two
talking-
groups would also mingle. And I think it was called Here They Go or something.
I know exactly what show you're talking about. I don't remember its name.
I think it was Here They Go or There They Go or something.
I've never heard of this.
It was so weird. But yeah, you had three boys who are given like one of them is the main character is given this book by his magician grandfather or something for his birthday, and they like point at points in his. The book is like a history book, but it will take the three kids into the past when these things happened, so that the audience can learn, so that they and the audience can learn about historical events, while they also try to make sure that they don't mess up history, and then they have to get the book back so they can return home, and that's the crux of every episode. They always lose the book and they always have to get it back so they can go home.
Yeah, I know exactly which. Like, I used to really like that show because time travel.
And then after a while, I guess, since it was three boys originally, they're like, okay, this is the future now with like Back to the Future with hoverboards and stuff, and their children, who are all female, are also friends, and they inherit the book. And then they go back in time and they mingle with the original main characters from the first group who live in modern times. So the story then becomes they have a cast of 6 people, but it's always 3 every episode. So sometimes it's 3 guys, sometimes it's the 3 girls, or sometimes it's a variation of both groups. So it's this girl and this guy and this guy, or this girl and this girl and this guy, or these 2 guys and that girl.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was a crazy show.
Yeah.
It sure sounds like it.
It wasn't
Was
as
it
crazy
Time
as
Warp
Reshift of
Trio?
Destruction. Time Warp Trio, that sounds like it. I think so. Let me check.
This was Discovery Kids.
Yeah, I think so.
For his 10th birthday, Joe receives a mysterious blue book from his magician uncle and namesake, Joe the Magnificent.
Yeah,
known
Time
only
Warp
as
Trio.
the book. Using a number of unpredictable and or unintentional voice and print clues, the book frequently transports Joe and his friends, Fred and Sam, to a variety of places in history like ancient Egypt, the Old West, and the year 2105.
I can't believe
Where they
Persona
meet
5
their
ripped
own
off
great-
the Time Warp Trio.
Yep. Where they meet their own great-granddaughters, Jody, Samantha, and Freddie. The only way they are able to return... The only way that they're able to return to the present-day Brooklyn, New York, is to find the book again within whatever time period they are in. Later in the series, Joe's evil uncle, Mad Jack, makes several attempts to capture the children in the book with his crafty tricks, whether stranding them in Antarctica, where the book doesn't work, or trying to make their new home in China during the Tang Dynasty. Yeah.
Why doesn't the book
That's
work in
from
Antarctica?
Wikipedia.
Why doesn't the book work in Antarctica? And also, I can't believe Persona 5 ripped off Time Warp Trio. Worst game ever. 0 out of a million.
And there were 26 episodes that aired between July 2005 and July
That's
2016.
an extremely fast-moving
2006.
story.
Yep.
I kind of want to go and watch this again.
I'm not, but maybe you and Tara can watch it with a screen share or something. That sounds
That'd be-
fun. Make
that'd be
sure to
great.
record it. It can be
We'll
a
do the
Rose
time-
in the
well-
Landfill special.
Yeah, we'll have to do the Time Warp Trio cast.
Yeah, where you two just watch and talk about it.
Yeah, but they actually had a series of comics and chapter books.
I never read those, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I would have no nostalgia from it at all whatsoever. Speaking of chapter books and manga and comics and stuff, I once was in an art store. It had like a bunch of books and stuff in it. And I was with a sleuth, and I was like just kind of making silly remarks about stuff, and I was like pulling books off shelves. And then sleuth tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I don't think you're supposed to be there." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I looked down, and there was a big yellow thing I walked over that said 18 plus and older. And at the time I was 16, and I was like, "Oh." And I put the books I was checking back on the shelves, and I briskly walked right out of that section.
It's more like, oops, well, too late now, continues to read.
No, not me. I was making remarks. I was like, "Why are this person's clothes so skimpy?" And he's like, "Look down." And I'm like, "Oh.
Oh.
Whoops."
You think I'd have a bigger sign that would
It was on the floor, so...
I mean, like, but does everybody look at the floor when they're
No, that's my point. That's my point. I didn't even see it. I walked right over it, and I was thinking, like, uh-oh.
Spaghetti.
You know what, though? They did account for one thing, though. They put the shelf really high up, so at least a kid couldn't wander in there and grab it.
No, but see, if the shelf is really high up, you're going to be looking up at the shelf.
That's true.
Logic.
Design.
This is slowly becoming the cast where we just question people's logic with things and just shit on.
Well, this is Bros in a landfill,
design.
so if anything, it makes sense. How did we get stuck in this landfill, and what are we doing other than yelling at people about it?
Yeah, I mean this, yeah.
Who the heck throws away 8 Beanie Babies, and they're all the white bear with the stars on it?
It's amazing how the trash juices didn't stain them.
Yeah, no. I mean, one of them made it out scot-free, but that's because he was balled up inside of all the other ones. So, they shielded him. Look at this hat over here. Look at this. It's got a big hole in it. Like, someone shot through it with a gun.
Oh, why would someone do that?
Oh, and what's this? It's Mission from Destruction.
Anyways.
This has been Bros in a Landfill signing off.
Good.